G'day, g'day. My name is Matty C from the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show, and I'm here for the Fantasy Football Network on the Scout team to talk all things fantasy around the greatest team in the NFL, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let me quickly recap on week one. Wasn't the best week. Trevor Lawrence, he did kind of what you would expect. We were thinking that he would be in that two-quarterback Superflex league, in the fringe of starting in that, and he produced the kind of day that would do that. He finished around in that quarterback 20 to 24 range, depending on your scoring, which makes him a passable start. He outscored Tom Brady, so about that. And my outlook for him this coming week is really not that much different. I think it's going to be tough going early on while they try and establish a run against a very stout Indianapolis team, and then they're going to be throwing in the second half, and that's where he's going to get his points. So I think I'd be putting him in the same sort of zone, just on the edge of the top 20, and it makes him a consideration only in the super deepest of single quarterback leagues, like my home league, a 16-team league, or of course in Superflex and two quarterback options. So that's enough said about Trevor Lawrence. That 275 yards and a turnover or two and a touchdown or two, I think that's going to be around about where he is most weeks. It'll take something really impressive and maybe some personal growth to see him start jumping over that. All right, now we're going to go into some running backs because this has been the hot topic in the Jags. We saw J-Rob come back and immediately return to being in that top 10 conversation at running back. And Travis Etienne, I've never heard of Etienne. I don't know that that's going to be the case going forward. 6 rushes at an average of 12 yards a rush. Oh my gosh, no worries for Etienne. He's looking great. But also, I think those couple of targets, he did dare drop a touchdown, and I think we'd be having a different conversation about him. So, I don't think it's time to hit the panic button on Travis Etienne yet. I've seen him ranked as low as 49 out there this week. He's a trade target. Go after him and see what you can get Travis Etienne for from your Etienne owner if they're panicked in your league. J-Rob, though, I've seen him go as high as 23 in some leagues this week in terms of their rankings, and I think it's probably a little bullish. It's going to be tough running against that Indianapolis front, and I think unless there's a lot of passing volume for J-Rob, then that's going to be in danger of being overinflated. I think it's an overcorrection, an overreaction. We love overreactions, and for me, I think these two are still going to be fairly balanced out, but I still think Etienne's going to be the lead dog in there, and J-Rob just a bit of a victor of circumstance last week. All right, let's move into the wide receivers. It was an interesting week because Christian Kirk, who was on my team, on my bench, because I started Etienne in my flex. 6 for 117 is a really good day. When I used to play here in Canberra in the ACT, a 100-yard day was something you really celebrated. And I think Christian Kirk, what a great way to start your Jags career, mate. Now, I'm not sure how he's going to turn out this week. He is getting ranked. In fact, all 3 of these Jags receivers I've seen ranked anywhere between about 35 and 55 to 60, just because all of a sudden Zay Jones ends up with 6 catches, Marvin Jones a bunch of targets and 4 catches. So, Trevor Lawrence isn't being too discerning. He is passing it around and he's got 3 good options. Who do you trust? Probably Kirk. If you've got Christian Kirk in your league, depending on what you're playing, if you're just playing in a standard league, there's a great chance that's a real decision point for you. And I would lean into it because I think there's going to be second half passing volume to be had in that game against the Colts. What do you do with the other guys? Hey, if we get to the end of this week, much like I said last week, and Marvin Jones has more points than Christian Kirk, I would not be surprised, and that's okay. That's okay. Not sure what to make of Zay Jones. We'll just see. I mean, the thing to learn from last year is that there's only some of it we can bring forward. It's a whole different regime, and Doug Peterson's going to run things a little differently. We've seen 1 week of it. I still think Christian Kirk is your best bet, and then if Marvin Jones it's his 10th season. He has been successful in the other places he's been, 4 years at Cincinnati, 4 years, where he's even the top dog for a while there in Detroit in bad teams generally, and he has 8. He has eaten. He's feasted. He's been fine. He's scored points. Last year was a bit lean, but he was clearly the best in that team. So, have some faith in these guys. I'm just going to summarize real quickly. We've got Trevor Lawrence. He is on the edge of a start consideration if you're in a super deep league, like a 16-teamer, but definitely if you're in a 2-quarterback or super flex. You've got the running backs. That's a real toss-up. I still say you trust Etienne, but it's going to be tough going this week, so temper your expectations for both of them this week. But I think they're still very much in that flex consideration. J-Rob is probably getting overcorrected, and Etienne is probably getting sort of the same way. So if you can find a way to trade for him, go get him. And then the wide receivers, it's Christian Kirk all day. But gee, if Marvin Jones turned up a good one, I wouldn't be surprised. And we'll just see what happens with Zay Jones. No tight ends to speak of, and I wouldn't be starting the defense in a pinch either. It's your boy Matty C from the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. Come find us. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on TikTok, but you can find our show on YouTube and also here on the Fantasy Football Network. I'll be contributing all year long for the Fantasy Football Network Scout team. I'm really looking forward to it. My buddy Taylor is a Titans fan too, another Aussie. We're going to meet up twice and we'll do a bit of a collab back and forth when those games happen, and it's pretty fun. Thank you so much for spending 5 minutes with your boy Matty C. Hooroo, guys.